we grana wheat ninny ba, everyone. We are going over the dynamic duo of the Transformer world. This is the Studio Series 86 Voyager class Hot Rod and the Deluxe class Kup. And putting these two together, I am in love. If you enjoyed these two figures, highly recommend them. If you want to pick them up at the time of this recording, Kup is available on Big Bad Toy Store as well as Amazon. And I bring up Amazon because this version of Hot Rod, I know they've released a couple of others, but this particular version is sold out on the regular online toy stores, but you still can get him on Amazon. He's just a little pricey, and I'm glad that I found him at Walmart when I did. Now, I love that they're finally going back and doing the 86 movie. Get the gorgeous logo there. 86 Hot Rod Kup Studio Series, and then, of course, the awesome name branding there on the top. On the sides. Love this artist's rendition, both on the sides here and the front. Just gorgeous interpretation of two of our favorite characters. Beautiful product shots here on the back. Ideas of what you can do to pose them, how they look in both of their modes. Love it. Come back around to the front. Nothing really on the bottom. So with that said, after all the gushing, are both these figures worth it or not? Let's crack them open and get a closer look at them. Now, I like how these two kind of got teamed up because Hot Rod is brash and headstrong with an overwhelmingly sense of like self-confidence that borders on arrogance, while Kup has that assumed the role of mentor and advisor to this young punk Hot Rod, offering him wisdom and advice when he needs it. So their relationship is antagonist but friendly. In the Marvel Comics continuity, Hot Rod and Kup's first appearances were in Transformers Headmasters #1 from July of 1987. Headmasters was a 4-part miniseries that was also published by Marvel and set in the same continuity. The pair served under Fortress Maximus on Cybertron and later traveled to Earth, where they joined the Autobot forces aboard the Ark. After Optimus Prime's return, Kup took over as Prime's head of security aboard the Ark. Now, for what a majority of us know, the G1 continuity, Hot Rod and Kup are stationed at Autobot City and were present during the Battle of Autobot City. This was a turning point in the life of Hot Rod because he does eventually become Autobot leader after gaining the Matrix of Leadership following the death of Optimus Prime, which is very much ingrained in a lot of us older generations' memories. As Rodimus Prime, his first accomplishments were the defeat of Unicron and the return of Cybertron to the Autobots. Kup helped Rodimus Prime handle the Birds of Command, and in Season 3 of Transformers, which was episodes 29 through 30, Optimus Prime was brought back to life, and Rodimus gave up his rank of Prime, becoming once more Hot Rod. Now the backstory out of the way, let's talk about all the accessories these figures come with. So right off the bat, we have these cool backgrounds, which I always appreciate that they come with, so let's move their characters out of the way for the moment. Kup comes with more of this. I don't recall in the movie, do you guys remember seeing a robotic octopus? Because I remember when they're dropped in the Quintesson pit, there was the Sharkticons. Oh wait, no, I remember now. This is supposed to be the octopus that tears him apart when he goes, "Fix me." That's what that's supposed to be. It just took a minute. So, if you're one of those ones that likes to put these on shelves, that's going to be a cool little backdrop for you with Kup. And then, of course, you can't have Rodimus without having the innards of Unicron. I wish they maybe would have added a little more color because those blues are a little off-putting. But still, nonetheless, you get him posed with him holding the leadership of the Matrix of Leadership. Then you're going to kind of be able to, and then maybe put like a little underlight underneath him, get that light lit up, which we'll go over this accessory in a minute. Will look really cool. So you get those neat stuff. I always appreciate when you get extra accessories with your figures. So, talking about accessories, let's dive right into this cool blue effect, which Hot Rod comes with 3 of them. These we'll talk about in a second, but this one specifically is for the Matrix of Leadership. And this cool thing, I love that translucent blue. Looks just like it does in the movie. So on the blue effect, It has these little pegs. You just pop them in between the handlebars, like so. And look at that. And this is translucent enough that you can still see a little bit of the blue from the matrix there, so that's awesome. And just to be able to have that is super sweet. Now these, the translucent blue, now if you take Hot Rod, and since his hands are essentially the tailpipes when he's in his robot mode, put him like that, that's cool. Now the one thing that I wish they would have done here is everything's blue. Now I understand why this is blue, and from what I understand, whenever they're doing accessory parts, tell me if I'm wrong down in the comments, but whenever they're doing accessory parts, they usually come on a sheet like they do model toys, and then they cut them out. So I think that's why all these became the same color. I personally would have made these orange, just because A, he's Hot Rod, and his colors here show he is Hot Rod. He's got all those bright, obnoxious colors that a Hot Rod car would have. And when, you know, if he's going to take off, his exhaust is going to be just a regular orange and yellow flame. So, and even when he's first sees the Decepticons and the lasers that he shoots are, I believe it's like a bright orange. So that would have been nice to have that change. So, color aside, that's a neat little idea, and we'll look more at it when we get into the robot mode. Now, I guess we can start here. I'm excited if you can't tell. We get these kick-ass blasters. Got that nice silver sheen on them. And Hot Rod can hold them relatively well. So thankfully, his hands, when you first get them, you think, oh, that's molded shut. His hand can open that way. You take the red as I drop it, and you plop it in his hand like so and kind of close it a little bit, and you get that cool look. And sadly, I tried, but they don't fit on the end of the gun very well. Weapon storage in his robot mode on the back, which is the top of his car. You just take both and plug him in his back, which is cool, which leads us into our next accessory, which is the buzzsaw that he uses to fight against that octopus that we just saw a moment ago in the movie. And with his hands, you just pop that, drop that, and you can twist his hand like so and reclose it. And not this hand specifically, because this apparently has a hook. Why his hand has a hook here, I don't know, so we'll have to try the other hand. The little things you learn as you poke around with Transformers, right? Yeah, this one has the peg. His left hand has the peg, so then you just... Ouch. Be careful, by the way. Plug it in that way, so... You can get ahead and... Get those octopuses out of your way. And then if you want to store it, come around to the back, you see the two pegs for there. You see the two ports there. And it just ports in. And as I always say, I always appreciate weapon storage. So those are all the accessories. Oh wait, no, there's one little surprise. And I didn't know this. I bought this figure a few years ago, and I finally got around to opening it. And I never knew that he did this. I've seen other people talk about it, but I never saw it. So we get the regular face. If you ever so gently lift his head, you get his visor that he got in the movie when he goes, Decepticons, and that zips down. So that I'm very thankful for. Now, the one thing that I do wish that they would have done, and we'll talk about with Kup in a minute, is I wish they would have made his headpiece here translucent. Because remember, when he brings down his visor in the movie and he starts scanning the ship coming from Cybertron, remember his headpiece here starts turning orange? I wish they would have found a way, since they already made this hollow, it would have been nice if they would have put a little slat in the back of his head so that this would have had a nice orange translucent if you put a light over it. That would have been a nice addition, but missed opportunity there. But nonetheless, the accessories and the add of that just kick-ass visor is the bee's knees. Now for Kup, his accessories are just a blaster. Has your basic look, but looks like the one he always rocked. The downfall with Kup, though, is his hands don't slat open like Rodimus's. So thankfully his gun fits in his hand like so. And unlike Rodimus, the one thing that I do appreciate, this is kind of an accessory, I guess you could see. See how his eyes light up? That's because he has the slat here in the back of his head. So you get light and his eyes reflect. When I first took him out of the packaging, I didn't realize that. And I thought they just did his eyes black. And I went, oh, come on. But then I saw that and I went, oh, hell yeah. So they could have done that to Rodimus because Kup's a newer release. So that would have been nice. The other thing that Kup comes with is the Energon goodie dispenser. Remember when he goes, I'll use the universal language greeting. And he goes, Ba, wheat, grana, wheat, nini, ba. And he goes, now give them an Energon goodie. The missed opportunity here, as you can see, it's clear plastic. They should have given that a neon pink sheen, because then that would have really matched the movie. But the fact that they thought about adding that to Kup, nonetheless, you can't complain too much. I mean, sure, there's going to be missed opportunities, but at least you get those cool accessories. Now, accessories aside, in terms of paint apps and the way the characters look, I love the way Kup looks. What kind of finally tipped me to buy them was when I looked closer at the product shots, is this whole piece here is like a translucent, and that is beautiful. And then when I got him and I saw what the eyes did, hell yeah. Other than the fact that he looks like Kup, I wish they maybe would have given him a little more green, because he kind of had that militaristic green in the movie, but it is what it is. Autobot logo right there on the front looks awesome. All the blues and the oranges, the reds, very well sculpted. Love the Autobots on his legs, and they're more predominant when he's in his car mode. See the wheels. And I love that he looks like a robot. He doesn't look like a stocky box. He looks like a character. All those grays, blues, gorgeous. Same with Rodimus, or should I say Hot Rodimus mode. All the bright yellows. And of course the translucent blue for when he's in his auto mode. His face. Looks how the face is supposed to look. All the reds and oranges just capture the character great. All the grays where they're supposed to be. The silver sheen on where you're going to have the exhaust for the car. Yeah, this just looks like Rodimus from the movie. And all those little extra bells and whistles, like the add of the flame on his chest with the Autobot. Yeah, both these characters, it's just going to throw you back to that time when the 86 movie came out, and the one that we all fell in love with. Gorgeous paint apps overall. Now, before we get into the transformation and articulation about Kup, the one added addition that I love with this character is, remember when he's fighting that giant octopus and he tells Hot Rod, fix me. There's a nice little added bonus. When I first found out, I thought I broke the thing, and I was like, oh, come on. But check this. Oh, fix me. So all the joints. And now you have a nubby Autobot. I just thought that was so cool that they thought to add that. What would have been neat, but I'm sure probably would not have been cost efficient, is to maybe add a little bit of like damage when you pop him out to make it look like he's actually been blown up, or maybe like a little bit of like scuff marks or something. That would have been neat. But the fact that they thought to include that, awesome. Now for the articulation, when he's in his robot mode, he can kind of has a bit of a head rocker there. Twist it that way, twist it that way. One thing that drives me nuts is he doesn't have a, what is that called, a hip swivel like Rodimus has. So I was like, come on. Of course, the arms can spin 360, up and down. Double jointed there. Legs can go all the way out that way, and then because he can pivot like that, 90 degrees on there. Of course, the foot, because of the transformation, you get movement there. So not too bad for the robot mode, other than the lack of being able to swivel there. That's frustrating. Now for the transformation, let's see if we can do this, because I always suck at doing this on camera. Start with the backpack. Bring it all the way out. Come back around. The arms. Unpeg here. Come up. And these are the wheels. One thing to be mindful of here, that when you're popping them out, I don't know about y'all, but my wheels do have a tendency to fall off, so just be careful about that. So bring those out, like so. Turn the head around. Sadly, his head doesn't tuck in. I like when they can tuck in. This one is a little bit different, so I like to go and start moving this around. So basically bringing the wheels down towards the hip so it's on a joint, so that the head kind of comes in. Bring that up, make sure that his face is touching that doodad. And then this kind of, you have to play with it a little bit. You see how this is here? Kind of bring that up. And then peg that in so it looks kind of like that. I had to bring the arms back. And this does have a tendency to pop out, so just be patient with it. The next thing you want to do is once you make sure you have clearance. Oh, sorry, forgot one thing. So after you get his arms, see this little peg here? I almost forgot. So bring it out that way. Yep, there you go. Now you're cooking with gas. Do it on the same side here. And be careful, don't damage it. I know some of us get a little impatient when you can't get the transformation to work. So just sit and play with it. And you'll eventually get it. Now, after that, get the clearance, get the clicky click. Bring that in. Make sure the arms are all the way back, like so. Because if not, you're going to have a bad time, okay? So essentially, for the rest of this transformation, the arms are going to kind of rest in the back. Now, the legs, kind of bring them, finish bringing the hinge up. Where it looks like he's stuffing his own head up his own bum. And kind of, if you need to, hold everything in, because it does get a little frustrating. Now, what's kind of neat about this is the fact that when you get to here, come back around, the legs here, you pull it down. See this joint? I like how just unjointing and relocking it creates a whole nother aspect. Just one simple little engineering design is what makes this whole thing come together. That is so cool. But they have to make clearance for the legs for that reason. Now, here we can see we have the wheels. This side piece that's covering the Transformer logo. Up and out. And move the legs down as you need to. Try to get that shoved up under there. Get that lip there. And just kind of play with it, because you want to make sure that it kind of lines up here. I'm not the world's greatest Transformer action figure changer. I just do it at my leisure. And I try to be patient, because you don't want to break stuff. Move the arms as you need to, until you get a nice, clean look. I do the same thing on this side. The best course of action I found is to bring the leg up, hinge that down, and chicka, 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 Mr. Bill. Not my strongest transformation, I'll tell you that. And just kind of make sure you're starting to hear everything click. Clicky, 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 clickety, click, click, click. All right. Now these bring down, which is kind of what adds the stability. And then those little pegs, just ever so gently click them in, push the feeties in, flip them around, and then these little pegs here, you just port his hands into those little pegs. And that is Kup in his robotic truck form. And actually rolls relatively well. And again, just that translucent or the clear plastic looks great. And then when I'm talking about weapon storage and all that jazz, I always appreciate that Hasbro and Takara Tomy, they always find a way of implementing the pieces. So if you come around to his left side, gun, whoop, and then his, I can't remember the guy's name, rest in peace, Billy, something, but that's not all. Come around to this side, you get the Energon goodie dispenser. And it ports too. I mean, yeah, it kind of sucketh that on one side the Autobot logo gets covered, but the fact that that was thought of and added in is definitely an appreciation for us fans. And I can see that I'm not completely 100 because see, I always have a lob side, and I can see it right there. Gotta push it in. We'll pretend that didn't happen, all right? But yeah, look at all those blues. It has that awesome look. I wish there would have been some battle damage, but still a nice, clean piece. And I really feel like if you're a Transformers fan, this is going to be a slept-on piece because I've noticed a lot of people are just kind of like, yeah. I, for one, am happy. I love that the wheels spin, and as we just saw, especially when you can have great mobility in both modes, I can't complain about that. Now going back into robot mode, basically the opposite of what you just did. So if you want to, at this point, you can pop the feet out. You're going to have to use some fingernails or something to pop those feet out because it is... I noticed if you get your nail on the hinge and then grab the tip of the foot, helps immensely. Come back under, port the hands. Don't peg the hands too hard because if you do, you're going to bust a fingernail getting those off those pegs. Come back around to the back, separate there, lift these up and over, tab to tab. Then you're going to kind of want to just unjank everything here, like so, till you get your tab. Pick that up, and then just kind of wait till you hear that click, rest back in place. Same here, kind of jank it apart, and then you just unhinge, bar, come back around to the front, and then just that cool little design where you pop the wheel open, just that simple little I don't know what's so damn satisfying about that. I don't know. It's like a Bob Ross moment for me where it's just very, I don't know. You can kind of pick him back up, bring his arms back down, and then you can untab there. So the way this works, flap down, flap in, stand Kup back up. Now probably the most difficult part of this is once you bring the head back down, it's hard to see. But these little joints right here, you have to make sure that when you tuck in the wheels, that these little pegs get up under as you're tucking in. Because if you don't, and you just close it in, then you're going to have a loose Kup head. and that is frustrating. So it's sort of a game. There's not a whole lot of clearance. When you know you've done it right, as you're holding it in and you're pushing them in, you'll hear a click. There's a little bit of a slot right here that you want to kind of lock them in, because once those lock into those little pegs that I just pointed out, then you're golden. So you can turn his head back around, his arms, this whole circular stuff, just roll back in until they lock into place. And then there's a little bit of a lock just here. Wait till you feel the click. Bring his arm up. And it's going to lock into that peg to that slot. So, satisfying. Line up his head. Backpack's all folded up. This peg to these two. Match them up, Buttercup. And you may have to play with it a little bit until you hear the that we just heard. And that's Kup back in his robot mode. Again, with Transformers, I'm glad that on top of the functionality that they do both in robot and car form, I'm glad for the articulation. So just kind of like with Kup, his arm can go up like that. Can go up like that. Goes about almost a double joint, kind of a 90 degree there, but at least you can kind of get some good boxing moves. Good there. And then unlike Kup, does spin at the waist, which I appreciate. Legs all the way. Legs all the way out. And he does sadly kind of have a butt flap, so he can't go all the way back that way. Almost double jointed knees. His feet do pivot, so that's nice motion. So yeah, the range, not bad at all, especially for this one. Now going into car mode though, this one's a little bit trickier than Kup, so we're going to have to kind of bear with me here. I still run into trouble. So I'd say start by putting the arms up. You don't necessarily have to. The other thing that I like to prep first is you see how these joints here, you want to open that up like that. Spin it around. And then this little part, I like to just put right on top of his hand because for the car mode, these are basically going to line up. So we'll do that here on the other side. Like that. Up. And then on top of his hand. Just a little thing you don't have to think about later. So I like to do it now. Come around to the back. And you're just going to hold his head. Unpeg here. Unplug there, like so. And then turn his head. Fold it in. This next part here, bring out like so. Kind of move his arms out of the way. That way you can get this clearance to spin him around. Like so. Then what you want to do is these pegs here, basically like we're almost putting them back together. Click into place. So that way we can kind of start to see the form taking place. Now the legs, you can also spin this around. So that's going to lay here. The legs are kind of a challenge. Once you've done it, it sort of gets used to. And you see these two pegs. So like on the inside of the leg, you see how we have looks like a joint there, and then this looks confusing here. It's the outside that opens. So just kind of bring his leg out to the side so you have clearance. You want to push his foot inside. Untuck the wheel. Bring it all the way out. And then essentially it's going to peg. So make sure that you hear the click sound. Like so. Now, for those of you that have done Transformers for a while, you're going to automatically feel like you want to hinge everything, what you want to do is you want to hinge from just the bottom. So just do that. Make sure the foot's a little straightened. And then just bring this whole thing around his leg. Clicks into place. The other thing that you want to do is you can see how the wheel's upside down. Make sure you bring this around. So now when we look, the wheel's in the right position. Don't worry about the wheels. We'll get the front wheels. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's focus on the back. So this leg, same thing on the outside. Open her up, buttercup. Tuck the foot in. Unfold the wheel. Make sure it clicks. And then again, don't try to hinge, just take the bottom part. Like so. And just bring everything over until you hear the click. Now you got the nubby legs going on. This part is still kind of a for me. So the legs, the wheels, should I say, should look like that. But here's the deal. You got to bring, if you notice, there's a peg. It's hard to see on camera. I apologize for that. There's a peg right here and here. And then there's pegs here and here. You got to make sure that all that lines up. So, and this is going to happen a lot. So just lock the chest back in place. Yeah, I didn't say this was easy. So you kind of bring this in. Kind of get those folded up underneath there. And then back here with those inner pegs, you just have to kind of eyeball it and work it till you hear it click. Sometimes you may have to just kind of move and jiggle until you feel it click. So there you go. Just kind of make sure everything's centered here on the bottom. Wheels are done. Now, this you can open. Make sure your chest is still tucked because reasons. Now, just bring the arm. So you're looking at it from the top. Wheels are upside down. Just bring this underneath. Now, you see this tab here, and then this tab on his arm. Line those up. And then once you kind of have it lined up and it looks kind of jointed, you can kind of just push it up in and then lock these into place. Like so. That's one arm. Do it to the other side. And see, putting those on top of his hands at the beginning kind of saved you extra time. So pegging it up. Like so. Almost there, my friends. Make sure everything's kind of good. Oop. And guess what? That came unplugged. Oh, it drives you mad. Okay, took a breath. All right, see these little red things inside? Ever so gently unfold them. I've already popped them out several times. There's a little bit of a slat there, you can see. There's a big slat. So just kind of bring that in and up. It pegs in. Again, just be gentle. No need to moose it and get mad. Boom. Then the last bit of business. Oh, it fell out! Which you just pop it back in. Peg it. Boom, boom. Bring that up. Peg. Peg. Make sure you go through. all your pegs are in place, like this arm came out. Make sure that's there. Make sure all your exhaust things are snapped in. Good enough for government work. So, robot mode. Robot mode. Car mode. Gorgeous. Looks like he's supposed to from the movie. Beautifully done. Love all the chrome. I love that it, you can see, rolls like a Royce. So we are good to go. Now it's fun, now that you have him in this mode, those flames that we were talking about a little while ago, you can now pour it into the exhaust. And this is where I was saying that I wish that they would have been orange just to match the lasers from the movie. And the fact that you don't really see blue exhaust unless it's something like maybe nitrous. I'm not a huge car guy, but nonetheless, gorgeous. I love that feature. It just has that super epic hot rod feel. And that's going to look great when you put it on a shelf, or if you want to do stop motion with it, that is going to look cool. And as we were talking about a moment ago with the accessories, so this would essentially be Hot Rod's back when he's in his robot mode. Take the guns, point the red peg outward, leaving that top peg on top. Take the buzzsaw. And this is what I love when with Takara Hasbro, is they have form and function. So we got a gorgeous form, and then we have this functionality of having the buzzsaw and the lasers on top. And so you gotta be careful because everything just kind of became unplugged again. The madness. Beautiful, beautiful. The only thing that drives me nuts is that other than this going on the Matrix of Leadership, there's really no other way to stylize that. And both in the robot mode and the car mode, there's nowhere to put the Matrix of Leadership. I wish there was a way you could open Hot Rod's chest and put this inside, just like how Optimus, Ultra Magnus did. Because you don't want to hang it over his neck like Galvatron. That's silly. So if you guys have any creative ways to make this work inside him, let me know down in the comments. But overall, this car mode, man, gorgeous. I mean, look at how the reds and everything just accent and just look delicious. And then you can just add all these cool accessories to it just to make it look like something completely different. Oh, speaking of, in terms of Hot Rod's hands, that one where I said, what the hell is that? It didn't occur to me until I was starting to mess with it. That's the torch weld, that thing that he uses to fix Kup. So you also have that addition. I just wish that maybe they would have had some color or some like red flame to it to make it point out more what it is. And also, I didn't point this out earlier, but the buzzsaw, it's spinny. That's exciting. Oh my goodness, look at this. Cool stuff all around for the car mode. And just gorgeous. I can't complain. I'm happy that I picked this up on a whim when it first came out, and it's definitely one that I'm going to cherish in my collection. Taking Hot Rod back into his robot mode is sort of a little bit easier, so what you want to start with is opening there. Take the little flappies, unpeg them, and just gently tuck them back into place, like so. Come around here. The quickest, easiest way for me to get the arms done is to get the elbow joint there and just kind of make sure the peg comes undone and that it breaks off from the rest of the exhaust pipes. Bring his arms back up like so. Do that on the other side. I just kind of gently push down the elbow and get everything to just sort of unpeg. Bring that back up. Hands. Just open that. Flip it around here till this lines up into that little hole. Do that same over here, so bring it up, around, and then just tab that down like so. Come back around and kind of just snap the legs since you're having to get the roof off, and then just gently, as you can, peg this back up out of your way. Legs. Just unsnap from the wheel portion. Bring it around. And then right here at the tab, I just straighten out the leg, like so. Come in, unclick the wheel. Unfold the foot. Tuck the wheel back in all the way. And close that up like so. One leg down. Come back around. Unclick the wheel from the leg. Unfold. Bring this back down. Untuck foot. Unclick. Oops, that came off. That happens. I'm glad that Hasbro makes it where you can at least put it back in so it's not broken. But yeah, unsnapping that can be a little tight, so just be careful. Fold the wheel in like so. Close all that back up. Voila. Legs are done. Whoops. I'm just suckathing. Straighten out his legs. And there you go. All set up there. Now here, ungently unpeg here. Open that back up. Bring out Rodimus's head all the way. Turn the head around. And then just ever so gently bring that up. Spin it around for all that clearance. Tuck this down, so this is going to fold into here. These are going to come down here. Take field snap. And move the arms out of the way. And then just make sure that everything folds back into place like so. Those tabs there are going to fold into the tabs right there in the back. Just make sure you got all that clearance. You may have to jimmy it a little bit. And then lastly, the roof portion. It's kind of, I don't know what you call it. That happens too. So. Oh, you know what? We forgot one little thing. Derp. So, hinge it up. Make sure this little peg here pegs into there. And locks into place. And there you go. Make sure that his front portion is brought around to the right side so he doesn't look ridiculous. And that's Hot Rod back in his robot mode. Now here's our Autobot dynamic duo. Next to the Transformers that we've already gone over in the past, this is the Leader Class Coronation King Starscream. Gorgeous piece if you guys are looking for an awesome Starscream. This is the Deluxe Class 86 Perceptor. And as much as I'd love to have an OG one, I'm quite happy with this one. And then, of course, the big mamma jam on the back was the Target exclusive Soundwave and Doombox Bumblebee movie version. And yes, I've seen other cool versions of Soundwave, but this one, I don't know. It's just one of those ones where it combines new school and old school, where the original was the cassette. This one turns into, it was a Walkman. This one turns into a boombox. So it kind of has that 70s, 80s, kind of 90s vibe to it. Now, in terms of scaling, yes, Kup and Hot Rod are a little bit smaller. I always prefer my Transformers a little bit bigger, but nonetheless, you get them in the action poses, you start slapping in those accessories, and my goodness, you guys are going to have an awesome Cybertronian war going on. They are relatively superposable, and I love how they're starting to add kind of these transparencies, and especially this little hidden visor on Hot Rod. That was just an awesome addition. And then, of course, Kup's eyes lighting up, which I wish they would have put more illumination. Because at first I thought his eyes were just black. I'm like, oh man, that kind of kills it. That aside, all these figures, I'm glad that they're doing this 86 Studio series, because now we're kind of getting away from the Michael Bay movies, which, don't get me wrong, those figures are gorgeous too. But man, to have these updated versions from the original Granddaddy movie that's really stuck with all of us through these years, I'm one happy collector. What do you guys like to do with your Transformers? Do you like to photograph them? Do you like to pose them on your shelf? Let us know over on our socials. I thoroughly enjoyed both of these figures, and I enjoyed the dynamic that they had in the movie. Kup being the more veteran with all the experience under his belt, though having to learn to lighten up a little bit. Hot Rod, of course, being the more arrogant, having to learn the ways of the world, and they just played off each other so well in the movie. And these characters, these figures just capture that essence. And I'll even ignore how everyone says, blame Hot Rod for what happened to Optimus. We'll just kind of let that slide from the fact that I think with time we've come to appreciate the character. And then from everyone that I've talked to, I've enjoyed Kup. I love that they gave him that little translucentness to his eyes, so you kind of get that more robotic look. I wish they would have done that as we talked about with Hot Rod's helmet. That would have been a cool addition as well. The transformation for Hot Rod's a little more frustrating, but still relatively simplistic. Same with Kup. I'm glad that they're not overly complicated. I like a little bit of a challenge, but not to the point where it feels like all you're doing is bending and twisting, and it just gets frustrating. So for what we got, these are gorgeous pieces. And I'm glad that we're finally focusing on the movie that is really, to all of us as fans, the movie. Like, of all, that is the Transformers definitive. So if you guys have enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever it is like to get your action figures and comics and see if they have these two figures. Or if not, you can check out the places we talked about at the beginning of the review. Speaking of, if you did enjoy this review, really would appreciate taking a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you mind hitting that fancy little Matrix of Leadership bell next subscribe, that way as I continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below or the socials, which I'll make sure they links down in the description. So with all that said, hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading. Photo slideshow coming up next, and happy hunting, everyone.